Hello everybody, I'm Sadhna and you're on a curator's journey. Thank you for being here. My guest today is Shobha Mohan, who's a very respected lady in the travel trade. I'm going to ask her a lot of important questions today, something that affects the entire industry. She manages the Rare brand, which has a lot of hotels under its portfolio. So we'll talk about that. Besides that, we'll talk about how hotels are opening up in the unlockdown or after the lockdown. We will also discuss why Shobha is so passionate about sustainability and what it really means. And lastly, she's going to tell us how she fought the COVID. That's a lot of useful information, right? So I'm really looking forward to this interview. I hope you are too. Come on, let's go. We should be connecting to Shobha soon. Yay!
Yeah, hi.
How
Hi.
are you doing?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
I hope you can hear me and everything.
Yeah, I can very clearly. I can. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So how are you?
Oh, I just came back from a good walk and I showered and I'm ready. You look good. Haven't seen you in a very long time. Yeah.
I know. So, Shobha, while we are waiting for a few more people to join, maybe I can, start off by telling you what exactly we are doing here and why I invited you. Because a
Okay.
lot of people are very curious to know what exactly is this a curator's journey, and I wanted, I want to wait for some more people as well as let you know what we are doing.
Okay.
Basically, of course, you know that I'm from the trade, and what happens is that these 2-3 months have been really rough, and you need to use your mind somewhere very productively. So I thought, why don't I actually do something where I present the people I know who are, the inspiring people, people who can really make a difference to people's lives. I wanted to bring them together on a platform and talk to the public and see if the story could inspire them. And if not, at least we'd have fun. I mean,
I know. Yeah.
me
I
and the guest
just
would have fun, and I'm sure
absolutely.
everybody who's watching also will have fun. So that's the whole
Yeah.
objective.
Most importantly, you and I will have fun chatting.
I know that's the ultimate objective, right?
That's the ultimate objective. Yeah.
Yes. So, hello, I can see a lot of people are joining in. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, everybody. Vivian is here, Meenal is here, and some more people are here as well. So let's start off with talking a little bit by introducing you and talking a little bit about you. Shobha is indeed very accomplished. She has a long list of impressive sort of accomplishments to her credit. First of all, she's the owner of Rare. She's the founder of Rare, and I'm really happy to see, Shobha, that which you haven't told me in so many words, but I've gathered from the way you talk and the way people talk about you. You are so involved with the whole community. I mean, you're involved with the owners, you are involved with the local community, and you're trying your best to develop the destination as versus sell a hotel. It's a lot different, and I
Absolutely. Yeah.
really find that very endearing and inspiring. So first thing is that, I guess, to your credit, because that's your lifeline and backbone. Other than that, I think I might have to read it out. She is on the travel and leisure. She's a travel and leisure A-lister, which if you want, you can tell us what it is, but sounds extremely impressive. She's a member of PATA, ITO, TIC, and also RPSO.
TTC, which is the
TTC,
Transformation
sorry.
Travel Council
Yeah.
USA.
See, my company
It's
is the Intrepid Club, no? So I kind of mix up those letters.
yeah,
Okay,
and
TTC.
RTSOI is Responsible Tourism Society of India.
Okay, great.
And
Cool.
the A-lister in Travel Plus Leisure is it's a honor they confer upon you for about a year, which means you are an expert in a certain field. Of course, in the travel arena, it is me. So there are designers who are A-listers, and all these people contribute in some way, in terms of I mean, largely it is to do with travel. So they contribute with their expertise and their insights about their travels and whatever their craft is to Travel Plus Leisure.
Yes, it sounds very good. Also, you are the advisor to Condé Nast, no less, on trade, which is again great. Um,
This was for an event that they were planning. So it was it was only dedicated to that point in time. We were planning a luxury we were planning a luxury event last
convention
year,
for
the convention,
yeah,
which obviously is being postponed.
because of
So it is
COVID.
particularly for that particular event. It's not
So
like an ongoing thing.
no problem. You were
Yeah.
earmarked for that, which is,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
which is extremely, which goes to your credit. We can't take that away from you, right?
Yeah.
And she is extremely passionate about sustainability and a crusader of sustainability for Dope, which is an online magazine. Sustainability is something very close to Shobha's heart. So we are going to be talking about it more in detail for everybody who's listening, because that is something that really is, the talk of the day. And I would like Shobha to tell us more about it. So wonderful. We should be starting off soon. I can see a lot of people have logged in. Renuka's here, and Ms. Nair is here, Vineet is here, Nishant is here. So many people who are, really, there's a lot of gratitude from my
Yeah.
side
I'm a big
for
fan of
joining.
Nishant. Nishant and I actually concur on several panels, and she's full of ideas, and she's another big campaign for sustainable luxury. So yeah.
Really, that's
Mm.
so great. And another thing which I would really like to tell everybody before we start off, properly, is that we are going to be talking to each other for about 20 minutes, let's say, because there's a lot that Shobha can, talk to us about, and um, we have a lot to learn from her. And after that, after about 20 minutes or so, we'll start taking some questions. Don't put your questions now, because then we might miss it out, and I wouldn't want that. Maybe it's something that everybody can learn from. So let's just wait, and at about 25 minutes from now, max, you can start putting in the questions, and I'm going to ask Shobha to answer the questions. And if something gets left out, even then I'll make sure I come back to you about it. Hi Vidya. Hi, Explorers here. So hello. Sangeeta, hi. So, Shobha, shall we start on some questions?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Okay. So the first thing is that, since this program is a curator's journey, we like to talk a little bit about the journey that the person has gone through. So from whatever I've read about you, you were always, even as a child, you were so interested in culture, art, nature, forests, and then to top it all, your father was in the railways, so you went around the whole of India and explored the country, and then you also got married in the travel trade, and everything kind of fell into place. So is it right to say that you were kind of living a dream, or on the contrary, is it that because these things were happening to you, you said ab chalo, ab rare khol hi lete hain? I mean, how did rare come about, and is it something that you always knew that you wanted to do? That's what I'm trying to ask.
No, I'm the typical young Indian from a small town who's confused. to my credit, I was interested in several things. I wanted to do, and I always felt that if I put my mind to it, I could do anything. So, also, when we were growing up on the East Coast, there was not, unlike a large metro cities those days, Delhi, Bombay, even Hyderabad was a place where you would go to for, lot of fun stuff. But Vizag was a small contained area. So, the length and breadth of your joy or fun was from your house to the beach. So everything was on the beach, right? And and the community was very small. People interested in in art, in music. So the community that was that would be involved. I mean, first of all, opportunities for this was very less, and even if when there were opportunities, the community that got into this was very, very less. And I'm a very curious person. I mean, even today, if there's anything and, Google has been made for me, I mean, I have to figure out, dig into it and research like crazy. So as a curious person, you kind of, you are constantly moving about, constantly wanting to understand this, wanting to do everything. That being in the railways just meant that from central India, where we were posted when I was in a early childhood, right down to Andhra Pradesh, Vishakhapatnam, which was the headquarter. I mean, it was the regional headquarter at that point in time, railways headquarters at that point in time. Going to Assam when he had a project, to Orissa, all this kind of came together with a. I mean, very nicely. And actually a graduate in zoology, and post that, and those days, it was either a doctor or an engineer, and I couldn't be a doctor. So the next best thing for me was English. So I did my journalism and masters in journalism and mass communication, and got married, and as luck would have it, got married into a travel family. And it's just, I didn't do this on purpose. So slowly my life unfolded in front of me. And my thing is, whatever I do it very well. I mean, I just give I don't know gray areas. I'm like black or white. Either I'm interested or I'm not interested. And once this thing got to me, travel kind of got to me, there was no looking back. It was just, and I turned entrepreneur when I was very, very young. It was about traveling, figuring out what to do. And finally, when Rare happened in 2004, even then it was a matter of evolution to be where I am today. It is not as if I woke up one day morning and I said, this is what I want to do. So slowly, I mean, it was an opportunity I took up. That opportunity kind of flourished, more hotels joined in. And finally, today where we stand, it's Rare is where it is. And even the philosophy or the central idea to Rare evolved as we went along. It wasn't as if, of course, I knew that the only thing I knew was I didn't want to get into, I started off by running a small travel business for the domestic market, and then slowly started only marketing offbeat hotels. I was really very certain that I didn't want to get into the standard large group hotels. That I was very clear about. And then slowly it became into an opportunity when I started to market them together. So that is how Rare came about.
I remember you started with just 4 properties, no?
Yes,
and
yes,
you slowly and gradually kind of took it up. So at that time you were clear. What you're saying now is that you were clear that you wanted boutique properties.
Yeah, that I was very clear. That yeah. See, in 1998, we started with a neighbor and a friend who still continues to be a mentor, a guide and a mentor where some things of my life are concerned. We started a travel company because we were in Gurgaon. Lots of MNCs were around. So a lot of young people started to come and live in the surrounding areas. A lot of opportunities for people to start looking for travel. Travel was just happening. It started to become a part of conversation for everybody. A lot of media people stayed around here, and that is how it started. And from that time onwards, I knew that this is what I wanted to market. I wanted to market boutique, standalone, owner-run hotels with a character. So that was yeah.
Okay, great. So I think Shobha, you are in the perfect position to help us all of us, a lot of people have joined in. Hello, everybody. Hi, Rina, and everybody else who's joined. So, the thing is that at this time, everybody is so curious that now what do we do? Because everybody's heard of this quarantine problem in this state, and this is safe, or that hotel is safe, or so you have actually got hotels and properties all over India. And
Yeah.
how equipped is the whole of India? I mean, can you give us an idea of where exactly people can actually travel in India right now? And according to you, what is the preferred method of travel? As in, do you think it should only be driving holidays? Because everybody is talking about driving holidays, domestic, but how much can they take? Do we have that infrastructure? And can we actually think of going on domestic holidays? So this is what we'll take in this question. And my next question to you will be about what is actually opened up and where you can recommend, your properties, and where you can recommend that we go. So right now you tell me about, a kind of a wrap up of how it stands, and can we actually think of travel, or is that a while away?
So, to be very honest, with things changing by the day, so there is, we did put out about 11 destinations where, some amount of travel is happening. In fact, we are running a series called Reopening of the Rare Community. There are little videos where people have been going. Wild Mahasir in Assam is open, Glenburn Tea Estate is open, Niramya Retreats, Kovalam is open. Most of Rajasthan is going to open by the 15th of July. Uttarakhand is still waiting. Himachal, we are still, is still at a pause. So, at this point in time, simply because the clarity is not there, and also I think we've hit a phase where numbers are alarmingly high, right? Uh, my recommendation will be any property that is at a driving distance. So even in these places, we are only seeing local travel. I mean, 4-5 hours from the, like for instance, Wild Mahasir is about 4 hours from Jorhat and about 4 hours from Guwahati. So we are only seeing people coming from there. There is nothing like, there's no fly-ins to these people to these places.
Yeah.
So
So
currently, I think.
I'll just stop you for a bit. Now the thing is that a lot of the people who are watching us are not clear. They're not too sure about your properties in particular. So can we just discuss India wise that okay, east is okay if you're driving, for example, or whatever. And then next question, we'll take up your properties specifically, which are good to go. I think now if you tell us, geographical distribution, that will be really nice, and it'll help people who don't understand or who don't know about rare particularly.
Yeah, so like say Karnataka is open, for
Okay.
instance, right?
Okay.
But Karnataka I mean, if you're going from outside, you might find, you might find some, quarantines and things like that. I mean, if you're flying in from somewhere, but within the state, you can.
Okay.
And currently I think there is still that big fear of people going from, and don't forget, our hoteliers themselves don't want people to be coming from, like for instance, they don't want people coming from Delhi because the numbers in Delhi and NCR are very high. And imagine in a boutique environment, in a boutique hotel environment, where you are in a small destination. You are in a tiny destination with just one hotel, where the community works at the hotel. To have a traveler who might develop symptoms is also scary for the community, and one of our hotels cannot take that risk. Right. So I think everywhere interstate travel is still being, the people are being cautious about interstate travel. That is why I said, if the property in Assam, the guests, it is open, but the guests we are seeing are from Guwahati and Jorhat are driving distances from there.
Driving
Uh,
distance.
so then
Goa has
we
also opened up, right? I mean,
Goa's
they seem
opened
to
up,
be
but
inviting everybody.
yeah, but they might be inviting, but Delhi say how many people will say okay, I'm going to get onto a flight and go off to Goa and things like that. So
So, particular
unless
cities are not welcome,
yeah, they're
basically.
not welcome. And for instance, we have this lovely property just outside Bangalore called Shreyas Yoga Retreat. They have started seeing weekend guests or long stay guests that are there, but again from Bangalore and the surrounds.
Okay.
Right, people
Wow.
fed up with being sitting at home for a very long time, so they just want to see how how they would like to so they want to see how they can be just get out an hour out of the city and stay in a place like Shreyas. It's a 25-acre farm, just about, we just have about 12 independent tents or cottages. You have your own space. There's so much open areas for all your activities and things like that. The dining experiences are al fresco and outside. So that kind of people, that kind of vacations within the state, I think is highly recommended, and for people who are not scared or anything like that. Also, the boutique hotels are very, very keen to see how they would like to welcome travelers. I mean, is there a traveler's pledge? Do you want to? Should have a Arogya Setu app. They need to have personal declaration saying that we have not been in the vicinity of a red zone or something like that. So currently, yeah, I mean, there are some brave hearts going out there, but I don't think those kind of I think once we hit July 15, when I think like a lot of Rajasthan hotels are saying that we're going to open up. So we're going to see something like that. Uttarakhand, again, you have a quarantine. So, I mean, what's the point in getting somewhere? And also, what about the states in between? So there's a lot of, ambiguity where
So,
travel is
what,
concerned.
yeah, Sangeeta says that people are afraid to travel to Goa even from Mumbai. So, I mean,
Absolutely. Yeah,
that's
yeah.
actually driving distance,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
even then it's a problem because you never know
Absolutely.
what,
Yeah, yeah. People, yeah.
no, they might send you into quarantine or something like that.
Yeah, quarantine and I mean numbers in Maharashtra have been typically very high. So
So what
even
you're
Goa
saying
will.
is that even as a hotel, I mean not owner, but I mean a partner of a owner, even
Huh.
then, even y'all are not clear. So at the
No, no,
moment,
we
the
are
ambiguity is not only with the customer, but also with the
with the
hotels
yeah.
itself.
Yeah,
And that's
because
very
I
interesting.
won't say ambiguity. They would know, we all know that the state is open, this is our quarantine time and things like that. But what we are up against is, in case a traveler comes in, say, from Delhi, and he brings it to my community, my little town or village where I'm a standalone property, what do I do then? In Uttarakhand, apparently, if you have a guest checks in with fever or something like that, you need to shut the hotel for the next 15 days.
Really?
And imagine the bad press. Yeah, and imagine the bad press for something like that. So I think, I mean, I'd love to sound positive, and we need to be positive, but I think being careful and, driving this with common sense is, I think, of utmost importance.
And so you're saying that in October or so is when you can really expect the properties to open up more, something
Sadhana, really, this is a crystal ball, very, very, it's a hazy crystal ball just now. All of this will only be, with all of the light at the end of this tunnel is only when we have a tested vaccine, I mean, this whole herd immunity that they're talking about, that kicks in, which is again tested and which is endorsed by health organization, or I mean, of course, we have a complete vaccine in place, and the numbers will have to starts to plateau. I mean, otherwise it's very difficult. I mean, open the paper and you say, there's this thing. If you open that particular website, that thing keeps going, like that. The numbers keep increasing. It gives you the numbers in the whole world. and it's quite scary, right? See, travel is a leisure time, happy joy activity. If you are scared, if you're looking over your shoulder all the time, and if you're worried to touch here and look at people's faces, or somebody coughs and you kind of get into a tizzy, you don't want to go on a holiday like
The
that.
pleasure is gone, of
The
course.
pleasure is gone. And yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, once the borders open up, once they say, okay, so XYZ, this is have a Arogya Setu app, and do this, and of course, everybody's got their protocols in place. All our hoteliers are working very hard. I mean, across the board, not only Rare Hotels, to see what are the protocols they'd like to put in. So once that is, we are all ready. But the final part of this will be only when the borders open up, the quarantines across states, right? Suppose I'm driving somewhere and I have to cross 2 states in between. What then, right?
Yes.
So those kind of things will have to be, and of course, the
So
great
some
Indian,
people are mentioning that they're dying to go on a holiday, which we all
yeah,
are. But yeah,
all are.
we also have some friends from overseas who've joined. So just I mean, what do you envisage? When do you think we can welcome our foreign clients to come back to India and explore India?
Of course, their local, the flights
Yeah,
from their places, that needs
of
to
course,
get off.
yes.
Secondly, I mean, from what I'm seeing, again, hazy crystal ball, I call it. What I'm
Yeah.
seeing from the kind of booking, so whatever existed for October in the inbound market have all been pushed. Some of the bookings for November are still, live. I mean, people are actually looking at that. I mean, saying let's just wait for another month.
They
The
haven't
November bookings,
cancelled
they
completely.
haven't
Yeah.
cancelled. I won't say 100%. At least 70 to 75% people have said, just hold on to that November booking. Actual bookings, new bookings are only being seen for the third quarter of the season, which is January, February, March, that time, right?
Okay.
Any query, one odd query. I mean, there's no major querying coming, but the queries have started to come in from mid-June onwards, and they've all been for, early for there are some queries for January, February, March. There are a lot of queries. In fact, we market a lodge in Ladakh, and it's a snow leopard. This thing. So there are bookings that they do small groups for snow leopard expeditions, and we've been seeing bookings for that. But again, whether they'll operate, they'll run. Also, if because of all this, cancellation and booking policies have become very, very flexible. You can't ask people to, cough up the money for the particular booking. So, I mean, we're just waiting. And again, all of this will only depend upon how our borders are, what is our regulation for foreigners coming into the country, how we envisage looking at quarantines for these people. So all of that will of course be, but I must say we're all ready. Tomorrow, if everybody says, okay, the vaccine is out and I think all of us will be ready to be taking bookings.
I think everybody is waiting for the vaccine basically, and
Yes, yeah, yeah,
because everybody wants to travel, everybody is dying to travel, and the minute the
absolutely,
vaccine is out,
Hmm,
I think that's what we are waiting for. But
absolutely,
till such time, we have to, use the time productively and educate ourselves about, what are the options available and all of that. So you
correct.
mentioned that 2, 3 properties are actually welcoming guests right
No,
now.
more than that. We are about 6, 7
Okay.
hotels which are ready to take places. Shreyas
The
Yoga
one is
Retreat,
in that
Surya,
is in Karnataka.
yeah, just outside Bangalore. We've started
Yeah.
to get bookings there. Then we have Surya Samudra, Niramya Surya Samudra, which is in Kovalam. In fact, they are
Okay.
offering charter facilities, where you can go there. Then there is, I told you, Glenburn Tea Estate. There is Rajbadi
That's
Bawali
near
just outside
Calcutta.
of Calcutta. Yeah, Glenburn Penthouses in Calcutta, which is now open for like lovely dinners and high tea
That's
and
a
everything.
beautiful property, right? It's
Yes,
like in
yes.
the center of the city and a very
City,
boutique and
absolutely. Yeah.
very sort of classy house,
Yes,
I would say. It's
yes,
like going to
yeah, yeah,
somebody's
yeah.
house.
It's a
isn't
penthouse.
it?
It's a lovely
Yeah.
penthouse. Yeah, it's on the
I would highly
ninth, 10th floor.
recommend it to people who,
Yeah,
want
who
a
want
little
the
boutique.
yeah the
Yeah.
beautiful Calcutta experience, the walks and the atmosphere, the food and the art and
Because
everything
you're
and the
right in the
architecture.
center. Yeah, you're
Yes,
near the market,
Russell
right?
Square.
New
Yeah,
Market.
yeah,
Yeah, Russell
yes,
Square.
Russell Street. Sorry,
And
Russell Street. Yeah,
yeah, Russell Street. And it's still old world charm. I mean, it's
yeah,
not like a ordinary hotel.
yeah, yeah.
So
Yes,
Ratna is
absolutely.
sorry for joining in. No problem, Ratna. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. You were saying what else has opened? Which
So
other?
I told you Wild Mahasir in Balipada
Guwahati. That's
Estate
again
and
northeast.
about
Yeah.
4 hours from Guwahati, that is open. Glenburn Tea
Okay.
Estate, Darjeeling, that's open. We have Rajbadi Bawali just outside of Calcutta, that is open.
Okay.
Then yeah, I mean properties like that have started to
Nothing in
really
North
yeah.
India or
No,
South proper, as in
south
Chennai,
south we have we're seeing some
other than
openings
Karnataka,
in
the
Karnataka. No, Kerala is opening. We have a couple of.
Kerala.
I told you, Surya Samudra is open.
Yes,
So
yes,
slowly,
right.
slowly, people are opening. I mean, they're not
Are
great numbers to talk about, but yes, people. But the good news is they're staying longer. And ideas like remote offices. I'm very fond of saying work by the beach, work from the forest, so these remote offices where great internet connection and a room for yourself is something that is
yes,
looking good.
because besides other things, your properties will also have a very private atmosphere. You don't need to mingle too much with people unless you want to, and private spaces basically, and very personalized care. The staff, I'm sure, will be very well equipped to take care of on a one-to-one basis as versus a factory kind of an environment.
Absolutely. So the central principle of Rare Hotels, and I'm very fond of saying, we kind of create sunshine and stardust around owner-run small hotels, which have very generous land-to-key ratios. What that means is 1,500 acres of tea estate in Darjeeling just has 8 suites to give you, right? Something like Shreyas Yoga Retreat is 25 acres and just 12, tents and cottages. You have Surya Samudra, which is I think about 11 acres and the 33 rooms. So the land to key ratio, I mean, you're literally one acre to, I mean, 1 to 4 acres per, and sometimes even more. That said, because our magic numbers in terms of keys are still very, very small. I mean, anywhere between 8 to 40 rooms is our standard, right? So, which means the teams are also very small and extremely dexterous in terms of training, right? And also because it is the monitoring and the SOPs and the training is by the owners and it's spearheaded by the owners. And also with the Rare Hotels, the benchmarking even before the COVID, this thing has been very, very high. And imagine instead of saying I'm going to a hotel, you say I'm going to Husna's place, right? It's like you say if somebody
Yeah,
asks
it
you, you say okay,
sounds
you just
personal.
it serves personal. It also talks about there's Rucha. She's from Shreyas Yoga Retreat. Balaji and Rucha have always spearheaded the whole idea of Shreyas Yoga Retreat. Imagine saying that we're going to be going to Shreyas and Rucha is there. You don't need to worry about it. Any worries you have will be taken care of. And another thing I'm very fond of saying, Sadhna, is that where boutique hotels are concerned, and you will know this, you've been in the doing operations for them for a very long time. Of course, in any case, I mean, whether it is your service benchmarking, your quality benchmarking, or anything, there is what the hotel sets out, that we are XYZ, we are this, we are world class this, and we have this is our hardware, this is our software, this is our experience. As a tour operator selling luxury, you have your benchmarking. There's an absolute no when some things are concerned. If suppose you see that there are too many rooms, or it's too clustered, or it's in a location you don't like, it's not a part of your selling proposition, right? So you have your own benchmarking. And the third is that is the beauty of boutique hotels, is that if you have a client and he has a specific challenge, or he has a specific request to say, Sadhna, I'm going after a long time, and my wife is very scared, or I'm very worried about my children, and are you sure these things have been addressed? Now, obviously, you can call up Husna. This is my, this is what my client is asking. So on a one-to-one, a
Yeah,
curation is also possible. So imagine you are
exactly.
actually looking at the health and hygiene from three angles, right?
And I think that's what people want now. They want to be
Absolutely.
safe. They want to go to places where they are not just
A room
hotel. I
number.
mean,
Yeah, you're
exactly, a
not a
room
room
number.
number. Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, we
They
had a
want.
hotelier who famously started reducing his rooms. I mean, people अपना कमरे बढ़ाते हैं. So we had Harsh Bana used to say, अभी he started off with 13 rooms. He came down to 11, and he used to say, I have to remember my guests' names. If I can't
Hmm.
remember my guest names, I'll start reducing the number of keys that I have. So that is the thing. You're
Accordingly.
no longer
That's
a number.
interesting. Yes, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So, Shobha, I think let's talk a little bit about sustainability since it's so close to your heart. Um, as I understand, it's not just environment, it's a lot more. It's the community, it's the development of the area, etc., that concerns you. So, tell us what exactly sustainability is, and uh, why you're so passionate about it.
So I am actually, and it's an evolving process, and it's also a matter of personal evolution. And where I stand today is the sum total of what I have learned from my hoteliers. And as luck would have it, the first hotel that came on board Rare was a conservation lodge in central India that kind of laid out the foundation for how subsequent hotels would look like on the Rare portfolio, on the Rare community. Right from the beginning, how the community was impacted, how the destination was impacted, how the experience was woven into the destination, how because it was a lodge, any animal habitat conflicts because of habitats and things like that were addressed. What is your locational arrangement? What is the land to key ratios? All of this became a part of the narrative that we spoke about. However, they were not central to the idea, because even then, how do the rooms look like? What are the windows like? What is this thing? Do they have TV? That was also a very important aspect in our selling proposition. But 2 years ago, I mean, as the awareness about environment, about climate change, and about challenges of excesses that go off as luxury in tourism are taking shape, or as tourism, all the excesses that are this number driven tourism, kind of really uh, getting onto a destination without any concern about what this kind of tourism is doing to the destination. This awareness has started to come in. So what we did was, all these ideas and ideologies that we now call as conscious luxury travel, we made it center focus. And as luck would have it, COVID happened, and the idea towards, and the shift of mindset towards looking, even the Ministry of Tourism is talking about how responsible tourism, which is the path or
Absolutely.
the route you will take towards sustainable travel. Sustainable travel or sustainability in travel is the aspiration. You want to have a sustainable operation. How you get there is by your responsible practices. That's the difference between sustainability and responsible tourism. So, this time, of course, the lockdown, the 3 months, 3.5 months, has shown us what this slight pause, this, I mean, it's not been major, right? I mean, it's a 3 month pause that we've had. I mean, already, vehicles and all are, how this 2 months of, reticence, of 2 months of being conscious, whether it was forcefully done, or it has, you really feel for it, how it has impacted the environment around you. I mean, the skies are bluer, the air is cleaner, the birds are chirping. I mean, there's so much of this happening. Of course, there are some, some of the some mishaps as well. But in general, you are seeing the advantages of this. And I think going forward, sustainability and responsible tourism is likely to become a strategy, a business strategy nobody can ignore. You cannot. So what is sustainable tourism? What is responsible tourism? That we are able to, we are able to weave a fantastic experience of the destination without, ruining the integrity and the potential and the pristine quality of the destination, while impacting the local communities, the host communities. I don't really mean the local destination, the local people of the locality positively is basically sustainable travel or responsible travel. And once we get that right, if you're aware, once that awareness sets in, who is the final beneficiary of travel? We want to believe, of course, travel is one of those sectors that provides maximum employment. Travel is that sector that gives us, it contributes majorly to GDP, but it is also one of those activities that actively burns fossil fuels. It is, in any case, you start off with with a huge carbon footprint. Right. So any activity that is done with responsibility will only mitigate this. It's not going to do away with it, because if you're increasing tourism, it is only about talking about. So if your carbon footprint is, say, 1,000, by using these things, the advantages of running a sustainable operation mitigates that. Right. It also ensures creating value for the destination. So that is how I look at sustainable travel. And a lot of rare hotels, and it's just not this, it is about heritage preservation, preserving a local cultural identity. It is about conserving environment. Somebody's written in, I think Sangeeta has written in, maintains and improving the environment, preserving heritage, forts and palaces. I mean, if it doesn't come into a hospitality project, they all are going to crumble and fall away. So that in itself is preservation of our heritage, preservation of our local cultures, looking at a lost art or a textile tradition that might just vanish forever. So all these contributes to gender equality. What do you do with water? What do you do with your garbage? I mean, all of this contribute to your the entire spectrum of responsible travel. Yeah.
No, Shobha, I want to share with you. I went to Bhutan last year. We had done a spiritual retreat kind of a thing. And what happened was that it was so pleasantly surprising to see that those people there, they are such simple people, but they are so proud of their heritage and their environment. You will not, for kilometers on end, even on small pathways, etc., you will not see garbage, and you will not even see dustbins, particularly, which are here just littering the environment as such. And yet the place is actually spotless and clean. I mean, you can really make out their pride. So you don't need some great plans for that or money or whatever. You just need that good intention. You
Absolutely.
need people to be conscious. You need people to be sort of very, very mindful.
Aware,
of
mindful. Yeah, absolutely.
Aware,
Absolutely.
yes.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think
Which is why responsible tourism puts the onus onto everybody on the spectrum of travel. The government, if they put out policies, which is what is the best thing about Bhutan. These are policies, and these are these are regulations by the government,
Yes,
the tourism
but-
department.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then you
But
have the
this-
tourism stakeholders, travel agents, service providers, hoteliers, and everything. And finally, the traveler. I mean, if your traveler doesn't agree with you and doesn't follow your protocols, does exactly what he wants, none of this is going to become any. So that is why responsible tourism, it puts the onus for sustainability across the spectrum onto everybody who's involved in the business of travel.
Right. Thank you. So thank you guys. You have been writing. Sangeeta has been giving so much of support. Thank you so much, and everybody else who's been giving your comments. I think if you have questions, I think you should start putting them now, because we are going to do a short segment on Shobha's new superpower, which she has, which I'll just tell you about. And after that, we'll have to quickly take questions, because I need to wrap up. Otherwise, my video will get, it will get cut off midway. So let's quickly tell you that Shobha has actually gone through a bout of COVID. I have her permission to say so. Is it okay?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And the reason I'm bringing it up is not to be insensitive, but because I would really like a matured and, sorted person like her to give us insights into what it's like to have gone through corona, the virus that everybody is dreading. Because Shobha, there's so much of misinformation, and in fact, I don't even want to get into precaution and this and that. There's more than enough which has been said about it. But what I want to know is that how do you get over this? Where did you get the physical and mental strength to fight it once you knew that you did have COVID? And I'm sure it's not something that to fear the way that we all think it is. So just encourage us with a few words, and people, you can start giving your questions, so that once Shobha has told us her experience, we will take some questions before we wind up. Thank you.
Yeah. So very simply, first of all, I was not worried at all, though, because we have an elderly person. My mother-in-law is about 85 years old, and she's there. We're being careful. But and we followed all the regulation. They said you shouldn't. They did say that you should not have. Nobody should come home. So we followed all of that, but don't really know how we got, right? I mean, one day the maid turned up at the gate, said, "I think I have fever." We sent her off. We gave her medicine, gave her thermometer, and said, "You go off home, don't come." Stop the other domestic help also to come in. But immediately 2-3 days later, we used to check our temperatures every day. I had 99.5 and my mother-in-law had 99.5. So immediately we all quarantined separately. We were all in our rooms, and I closed down and everybody closed down. My elder daughter is also there at home, and another domestic help who stays over, and Mohan, of course, my husband. So we kind of literally closed ourselves. Food was being put outside and everything. Monitoring, most important thing is that you monitor yourself, your fever 3 times a day, and your oxygen levels. Because I didn't have, both my mother-in-law and I didn't have huge symptoms. My symptom was only a mild fever, and I had a bit of breathlessness. So these were my 2 fever. And then eventually on the 8th day or something like that, I had something called the COVID spectrum allergy. I had a massive rash for about 2-3 days. So those were my this thing. There was, I think for 4-5 days, I had absolutely no appetite. So that was a big part of it. And that is it. So that in effect was what it was. So went through the day, closed in. Yeah, that's it.
That's not so scary.
Yeah. So basically organizing how to manage food and things like that, and being very careful, monitoring. My husband had a little, his fever went up. So we had a doctor on call. We had we called an ambulance, and his, oxygen levels were going down. So we kind of had these 3 things in place. So just in case there was an emergency, we could just go there. We tested almost immediately. I think I got fever on the 27th or 28th. 29th or 30th, we went and we did a test. In 2 days, the test results came, and they came and put a board outside. We told everybody, the domestic help who used to come to our house and used to go to a couple of other people's houses, we told them also that, listen, this is what has happened to us, and if you want the help to come to your house, it is your choice. We put it on the RWA group, which is the community group. We told everybody. right? And we said nobody's coming in, nobody's going out. So that was it. I think that is what. And the board, the health department used to call regularly. We had a doctor on call just for those. Anxiety is a big part of it.
Exactly, you know,
Not
it's
only
the
for you,
mind
yeah.
which kind of
Yeah,
plays
yeah.
on wins on you.
Yeah. So you kind of, so we didn't tell our mother-in-law that she was, we didn't say she tested positive. It was, I mean, she only, we both went for the test. She thought, she was told that you are negative, Shobha is positive. So just because we didn't want to scare them, because like I said, anxiety is a big part of this, and especially for other people in the house. So just plain common sense, drinking a lot of water, there's a lot of advice going around, and generally not exposing other people to it. And even now I've just started going out for walks and things like that, having the mask on at all times, and common sense. Yeah.
Okay. So it's, as I understand, it's okay. It's not as, much of a demon as it's made out to be. But all the same,
Provided you don't have any other issues,
yes, we don't
diabetes,
have
and
other issues.
if you have other issues, of course it is an issue. It is something
And
that you
we,
need to be very,
yeah,
and a
yeah, but
doctor, the intervention is very essential. And
is essential.
the age groups, right? Children,
Yes.
older people,
So
people with
we,
asthma, breathing issues. So these are people who you need to be very, very careful. I wouldn't take it lightly,
no.
but at the same time I wouldn't, I wouldn't want anybody to, because I think eventually all of us are going to get it at some point of time or the other. I mean, it is a reality that you need to, be aware of and treat it with common sense. And
Wonderful. So basically, this is for all of us. We need to wear our masks when we go out. That's a
yes,
reminder from us. And we need to be careful if you're ill or you kind of suspect yourself to have fever. Do check it.
absolutely,
Like Shobha and her family were checking it regularly once they knew their maid was unwell. I think it's also a perfect time for you to, plan carefully. So, if you want to plan travel, for example, you need to contact a good travel counselor. For
yeah,
example, we
that's
are
very
the Secret
important.
Club.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but like us, whoever you trust, it's not just me. There are so many people who, you must be trusting. But this is a time to get in touch with your agent and to kind of use his expertise and knowledge to plan the right holiday.
Holiday, yeah,
Don't,
absolutely.
yes, don't take a chance with a cheaper option, because this is not the time to, take chances. That's what I would
Absolutely.
like to say.
Even hoteliers, in fact, the boutique hoteliers have the comfort of knowing the tour operator who will be sending the guests, and understanding that, the challenges of the small, of the communities that these people are placed in, right? So for them also, it's a great comfort zone to know that Intrepid Club is sending these people. They know how they are placed, and that they know. And eventually, I mean.
Yeah,
The idea is we all need to be safe. I mean,
right.
yeah,
Absolutely, because it's also about our relationship with the property. If
yeah,
when we get involved, we also follow up constantly with them, that kind of thing.
absolutely,
But
yes, yes.
the other important thing is that since they don't, everybody's understood everything. No real, no questions
Questions.
as such. But what I would like to say is that everybody's been appreciating your properties or whatever that you've told us about. Sounds so interesting. So they're asking about where they can your website, etc. So Shobha's website is Rare India,
.com, yeah,
www.rareindia.com.
www.india.com, yes, yes.
And you can also send me a message on my Insta handle, that's sadhna underscore insta, and I'll get you in touch with Shobha. Or there's a Rare India Instagram handle as well. Maybe you could get in
We are
touch there.
prolific. I mean, our
So,
social media, posts and things like that, and our blogs. We are very, very. I mean, we're prolific with all of that, and they can find everything there. In fact, we
yeah.
started posting these lovely little videos of reopening of Rare Hotel, so people can see what is happening and where.
Okay. Okay. I think let's wind up, Shobha. Yeah.
Yes,
Sangeeta.
Rare. Yeah, Rare
So
India.
yeah,
Rare India is
Rare
what it
India.
is.
Yes.
.com. Yeah, yeah.
I'll post it in the subsequent post as well. You can check it there. And thank you so much, Shobha. It was such a pleasure to have you here. And I'll be back next Sunday at 7 with yet another interesting guest. This time it's going to be a stand up comedian. So I
Wow,
want
lovely.
everybody who was here today and Shobha, you also to be
I
there
will
as well.
definitely be there. Yes, yes.
Yeah. So wonderful talking to you. It's such an honor
Fantastic.
to have you chat
No,
with
my
me.
pleasure. And I think it is fantastic. And for those listening in, sustainability is now a lifestyle choice. I mean, buying less, doing less, using the ABCs of, the ABC of sustainability, which is awareness. Once you're aware what's happening around you, there is no way you will make bad choices, right? When you know this is what the earth is entitled. So awareness, believing that each one of us can make a difference and choosing wisely. I think that's what
Okay.
sustainability is all about. And thank you so much, Sadhna. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shobha. I'm going to end it now. And thanks everybody who was here. I'm really honored to be in your presence. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it because I really enjoyed talking to my guest. If you did, then you must join me every Sunday at 7 p.m. on a curator's journey on Insta Live. And here on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon before you log out so that you get notified about any new videos which get uploaded. Thank you so much again, and I really look forward to connecting with you more. Bye bye.